The dog of speaking. 1. We made all the prepositions with our faces in the fair of each other's links and tethers, with all the routines known to our neighborhood, our outings, and every one. 2. That's really something, of course. That's democracy with us, mouth down to eat, up to speak. That poem was so long that it required 2 sections. Thanks, Nick, for the introduction, and thank you all for being here. This is thanks to the sponsors and all the folks who helped make this happen. Oh, and I should say too that isn't this amazing that Bonk happens and it happens here and you don't have to go to Chicago for it and people show up, and this is amazing. So to everyone who had anything to do with that, thank you, and certainly thank you to Nick.
You're welcome.
Anyone who's not coming to Bonk is missing out. The dog of history. Sometimes I bite off a big chunk with these poems, you know. The dog of history. What's there to tell between my love with your big bad eye and blue blind womb? So what, winter's late? Whose love's a late winter? The creek burned out and the dead frogs echoing in the drain pipe. Speak up. Your head's hung to no leavings. I am speaking up. Your snout slit, biology, myth, muff, myth, up front, sent, enter, aside, the slag. So as they say about shall the twins meet and say, get yours from out my line, and a line goes on forever. My face was born like that. One thing I know about history's the litter spitting up. So that's in these little, you can't see them, right? So these little sections divided by asterisks. As is this one, although it's all little 4-line stanzas. The dog of siblings. All these come from the same manuscript. They all have the same ridiculous kinds of titles. I'm sorry. That's what I do. And most of these come from a section of the manuscript which has something to do with family and home. So the dog of siblings. The dog has many siblings somewhere, never counted how many, can't pronounce their names in harmony, or know when any one of them is afraid. The dog is truly a hive inside his skull. His mind bristles as the sky spills over a fresh burn, like he's worn all the pines fresh out, like a bright hum enters a colony. He dreams he's a bird and a nest, though he never saw a bird and a nest, but the sky's nest is in a bird, he thinks, as the earth nests in the sky. And the dog's mind's cradles dirt water, sleeps on the ground to feel his dreams thumping. Hears a dog in the night, har, har, har. Thinks, here comes a song from the future. Did you hear the one about your mother? Will you sing the one that goes, Haru, Haru? Will you sing to us until our eyes shoo? Will you play grandmother, or do I have to make you something first? The dog of 8 breaths. Again, little asterisked sections. Between, as in lines, phrases, measures, sobs, errands, degrees, lovers, teeth, walls, ribs. Relief valve, wailed heavy on his father's chest. A sigh way. Hello, epiglottis. Goodbye, heart. Blue dumpster, cheek cellar, molar spit suck. Don't move your lungs. Just breathe with your mouth. Okay, now just your lungs, no mouth. I'm just asking. Sign with your lips full of blood and cracked, hugging incisors like a boxer. After words retreat to the breast, milk and funny ache. Father, father, pumped my mother, caught his breath and shaped my brother. Face to the air, to the skyline, empty, full, to the exhaled wares, elm, tower, leaf left bare, wearing mother's labor, a neighbor from every floor. What sigh are you keeping well? What reserve in store? What cloud before you reap? From the leavings of whose field harvest wind to speak. The more empty, the more full. These silos near my heart, left me by inheritance. That is, someone breathed her last. Expands in me the horizon. The senses are mindful of mind, but not the breath. Old Job in his home, fat of breast. Remember the mothers, his mother, fat of breast. This is the story about sharing. The dog of homemaking. You wouldn't believe what's in the air. You and me, our guts. If I had just little courage for the local talk about local, it's here. This is the one place I'm not afraid of poison. At least I know at least what's wrong, like I hear your wheeze in back the yard and recall how long we waited for the sun and dug 3 degrees warmer the wrong way, ears half raised for orders from which distant dirt maker. Now we'll trust what's far enough to forget us. That far's the fat world on which these innards push what they know, what they're doing, tangled roots with yours, and whatever's said grows up and down into us and our place. We can't speak for any earth we didn't pack ourselves. The dog of the nest. There's some sort of homophone puns here that you won't see if you're not looking at the page, but it reads well anyway to me, if I do say so myself. But I will tell you that there's raises in the second stanza, like raises up, right? And later there's raised with a Z. One of those weird things in English where raised means this, and then raised with a Z means the opposite, right? Raise up, physically, or through metaphor, we say raise a child, make them bigger, taller, right? Raise means to flatten, to demolish. The dog of the nest. You too, if you'd a Lord, and didn't know his call from a cricket's bird magic. The doves raises up on fear, or mourning one just like a man lies to his best faces. Oh God, oh darling, heart swollen jaw. I mean your neck's lost its term, but I hear you. I see where you smell from. So much inside us raised the same old deer-dropped weed nest. Just humble little poems. Nick asked me to say something about my process. I guess this isn't so much process, but goals, if that's a possible thing to have with a poem. I had tried to describe in prose at some point a while ago what I was doing and why, so this is a part of that essay. In high school, we get the sense that evolution results in perfect balance, perfect creations, and a perfect ecosystem. Of course, by perfect I don't mean what perfect actually means complete, but flawless or just right. You know. Bird beaks the size and shape of flower pistils. Frog skin the color of mottled leaves. Tree-necked tree eaters. But ask even a highly successful species. Ask the crow how perfect a being he is, how perfectly adapted. Well enough to raise his luckiest hatchlings to sexual maturity, though it requires every effort and every trick and every member of his family to do it. Evolution is slow, but change isn't. And by the time a species is adapted to one way of life, it better be able to survive another. It better be able to improvise a new use for that beak or that neck or that squawky voice. If the story of the dog is like the story of humans or anything else, it's because though we're all out of place, struggling with or against our world, the dog is more out of place, more off balance, more willing, or perhaps just more able to lose itself for the sake of fitting into a niche than the rest of us. Among dogs, the struggle is exaggeratedly physical and visible, as if the entire species lived only in a circus performance played out over hundreds of years. Few species, I think none, but few to be safe, few species have such pliable DNA, or else they've been spared the elasticity test of their genetic possibilities. Dogs, in only a few generations, not a few hundred years, a few generations, can morph into whatever their environment calls for, would, for the sake of their symbiotic bond with humans, look or act like creatures almost wholly unlike themselves, fighting constantly their own instincts and bodies, like those show horses trained with tacks in their hooves. That is, with pain in their gait, but food in their trough. Dogs have learned something about our complex faces. They've learned our neuroses and vices, learned to be sad and sedentary. We command them, speak. But even after their skeletons have stretched and deformed and shrunken into costume bodies that could not survive without an air-conditioned living room and enriched wet food, a dog's tongue can crush bone against the roof of its mouth even after its teeth have rotted out. That kernel of ancient and immutable self will not give up, will not trade a meal for a word. So the dog must live with people. And with that jaw and that mouth and those teeth and that throat and bark madly its stillborn language. So that's what I'm doing. The dog of conversing. Let's talk about what carries a tune in the well. Contingent consonant, please let me live in you as I let song well up and spill my face deep into my neighbors, that damn dog's damn hollow, mostly air and slobber, errant love note. The dog of philosophy. You know this will be genius, right? This one's just questions. You can shout out answers if you know them. The dog of philosophy. What's it take to say unbroken egg? What'd the equation do to be so true? What would I have to do, be, do? How can you tell if not in your mouth? How How long can you nurse a pack of roundworm, baby? That's my best work. A dog, let's face it, is a way of facing you, of breaking it to you, breaking teeth from face to smooth the breath between us. A dog is a way of sighing and seeing, like a doctor says, say ah, then hurts, then helps, a little, slowly. Toothy smile, all eat up open. French kiss, dog kiss, deep throat, cough. Hello? So I'll do one more. I think I went too long, I'm sorry. I'll do one more and then turn it over to Nick, and we'll all have the great pleasure of hearing Robert Fernandez and Joshua Edwards. Thank you all very sincerely for being here. I mean, personally, because I know some of you, so thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. But just the fact that there are people here. There are football games being played. People are wearing 3D glasses in theaters, and like, y'all are here. Just it makes it hard to be cynical about, I don't know. Sick people. The dog of war. Is it shrapnel or scrapnel in my hip pocket of me? Is that a body of pocket or a pocked body? And is that body of or in a body hole? And if a bodily hole's a mouth of muscle, then a muscle's cleaved where its striations cleave to bone, and bone's not bone inside itself, but something else. A magma deep and unhollow, or boned hollow point, round, fired through steel tubing, then gaseous, not tubing, largely nitrogen at a pressure sufficient to press skin to dripping muscle, not sufficient to undrip muscle. But we, in a room, in a space the size of hollow, we do not expand into each other without this breach of hollow unto unhollow, and pressure sufficient to carry a voice intact, wholly aired, so the blood platelets vibrate over the muscle spasms, pulling and releasing faster than blood can pool in the crevice lowest, and surrounded by itself. Look, here it pools, a darker self, outside self, and the light still unveined, still in my voice, like my voice, outside me, in sight trembling, in a pool, the magma, the earth, and under the holler, the plates shift. Thank you.